and let us all do we can to build a better future.
So there's a lot to really address here, and I want to start things off with hashtag force the vote. Now, a lot of your critics have been saying, well, this is just a crazy idea. It should never happen in the first place. He's getting things wrong. Jimmy, let's take the liberals' line of correct the record. I want you to correct the record on force the vote. One, when you were talking about this on your show, what started this? Because this caused a whole movement and a great revealing about who's really going to fight for Medicare for all and who's just going to say, well, I'm so angry, I want to change the world, but now's not the time. Keep your powder dry.
So it was just an obvious thing that they had lost so many seats. The Democrats are so horrible. Even under Trump, they lost seats in the House. So I saw how slim the margin was, and I was like, hey, wait a minute. I'm pretty sure that there's enough squad progressives that if they withhold their vote from Nancy Pelosi, they can extract something from her because they'll be the swing votes. But very much like the Freedom Caucus did to John Boehner. They drove him crazy into the fact that he quit being the speaker because he couldn't corral. And the difference between the squad and the Freedom Caucus is that the Freedom Caucus actually worked together as a cohesive group. And the squad has no intention of doing that. They had no strategy until me, a pothead YouTuber comedian, came up with this strategy. And then they were like, oh, no, we have our own strategy. Just AOC said that, by the way. None of them else would even engage it. We had a town hall with Cornel West. 100,000 people showed up. Mm-hmm. Crystal Ball was there. Kyle Kalinske, Bernie Sanders' press secretary. Not one of the squad even acknowledged it. Not only did they not show up, they didn't acknowledge it. And so hashtag force the vote is not a radical idea. In fact, the reason why I presented it the way I did was I thought it would be a unifier for the left. And I told people I have a lot of bad faith attackers, you guys know this. Mm-hmm. And I told them that, hey, I'll forgive you. And if you feel like I've attacked you, forgive me. Let's come together and do this. And
sounds like a good plan.
And because we all agree on this. Mm-hmm. And guess what? Everybody agreed on it. Even my detractors agreed on it. Even Cenk Uygur agreed. He said, this is a great constructive idea that Jimmy's pushing, and we should do this, of course, and blah, blah, blah. So that's, and in the DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, in their own handbook, their manifesto, the centerpiece is to do this, is to force a floor vote for Medicare for all, no matter how you do it. That's the most important thing. That's their own words in their manifestos. So that's why this was such a blindside to me that half the quote unquote progressive left was split over this. And they said, Jimmy, hashtag force the vote split the left. And I said, it did not. What it did was reveal that there's a divide between people who are actually going to fight and people who are posers and who aren't. So people like Cenk Uygur and TYT are complete posers who take $24 million in corporate cash and then move to the center, smear Julian Assange. And when the time comes to fight for Medicare for all, they attack me.
Yeah. So actually, I'm not sure if you know this. Kate was just working on this. Let us know if you know this already, but you can let them know where DSA find we just made.
Well, we have one of our sources, a person who's part of our team. I want to keep them anonymous for the time being, but they've been listening and following DSA, and now apparently, out of the blue, Jimmy, it's almost too little too late, but DSA is now organizing their own hashtag force the vote. So in other words, they're going to do it, only except there's been a huge divide between the membership and the leadership. And right now, at least before this reveal was made, before this was shared to us, we're going to talk about this on tomorrow's show. But apparently DSA's membership or leadership.
They're like, now that Jimmy's is done, we'll do it.
And the leadership was more on board of impeachment, even though the House is out of session until January 20th. And January 21st is when Biden gets inaugurated into office. So I want to get your comments on this because, again, we're going to talk more about this on tomorrow's show. But DSA is now doing their own force to vote. How do you feel about knowing that they're swooping in and thinking like, okay, well, we're going to lead the way? Do you think anything will fundamentally change with their plans or the way they're going to run it?
Well, I think this moment revealed it's not me making an accusation about the DSA. It revealed that when the time came to implement their own plan, They wouldn't. The leadership. I think the membership is, again, just like the Democratic Party and the Democratic leadership. 86% or 89% of the Democratic electorate wants single payer Medicare for all. The Democratic Party elected members aren't going to do. The leadership isn't going to do that. 85%, 86% of the Young Turks audience wants the hashtag force to vote. It's their leadership that isn't going to do it. So the same thing with the DSA. I'm sure if they polled, they wouldn't even do a poll. So I'm sure if they polled their membership, they would come out pretty much, I bet 90%, 86, something. I bet it would be overwhelming support for do hashtag force to vote. So they didn't poll them. So you tell me what kind of a fucking organization that is. And then you got guys like Ryan Grimm, who's got a sweetheart deal with the Squad, totally corrupt. You can see that access journalism play out is amazing. And what he's saying is that Jimmy Dore doesn't know how to build coalitions. I don't know how to reach out to the DSA or the nurses union. That's not how you get people on board. Hey, I don't give a fuck if they come on board with my plan. They can all go fucking suck it. It's their goddamn plan that they're not fucking endorsing. And if the DSA and the nurses don't get on board for hashtag force to vote, fucking shame on them and their fucking leadership. Not shame on me because I'm pushing for the thing that the Squad fucking ran on. Really, I've got to mollycoddle fucking people whose whole existence is to do this. Ryan Grimm had it exactly backwards because he's practicing access journalism and he works for a corrupt organization, which is The Intercept, which fucking did Russiagate at the top of their lungs. They still do it. They McCarthy smear all their political enemies, and then they practice censorship in favor of the oligarchy and the corrupt warmonger Joe Biden, and they get rid of Glenn Greenwald over it, the actual Pulitzer Prize winning journalist who has integrity. So that's what the Ryan Grimm and the fucking Intercept. So instead of Ryan Grimm coming out apologizing for the softball interview that his outlet gave to AOC without asking a single follow-up question, and Jeremy Scahill knows how to ask follow-up questions, so that's how I know that was a setup. Because he knows exactly how to do journalism, and he didn't on purpose. And then Ryan Grimm comes out and runs interference. They're literally running interference for fucking politicians. So this is a great clarifying moment for the left. You get to see people like Cenk Uygur and TYT smear Julian Assange and then kneecap hashtag force the vote, even though their own audience wants it, and they've said they wanted to do this forever. The moment came and it revealed. Same thing with The Intercept. The same thing with Ryan Grimm. The same thing with all those other people. You know who they are. So I didn't cause a divide. This revealed the divide between people who are faux progressives, who are actually looking for a job inside with the establishment, who are going to kneecap progressive agendas when we decide to fight. That's who the Young Turks turned out to be. $24 million from corporations and right-wingers is going to do that to you.
Yeah.
No, I actually want to ask this because I think a lot of people tend to forget, like there's a lot of polls that are showing that Democratic voters, independent voters, and surprisingly, Republican voters all agree that we need to have Medicare for all. We actually just got done interviewing Justin Jackson as well. And, you know, there are a lot of voters and people who agree that our healthcare system is horribly broken, horribly inept. And yet when we look at politicians like AOC, who was endorsed by DSA, who beat Crowley, one of Nancy Pelosi's groomed successors, we're seeing like, okay, these people are saying, fight for Medicare for all. We're seeing organizations like National Nurses United, DSA, and so many others saying fight for Medicare for all. Other larger platformers, blue checkmark people saying fight for Medicare for all.
I mean, even really directly, there are more Republicans that are for Medicare for all than members of the Squad that actually seem to want to push it. That is how do you even describe something like that in this world?
Yeah.
Not one member of the Squad pushed it. They didn't take the chance to do it. They didn't do anything. It was 4 blue dog corporate Democrats who withheld their vote from Nancy Pelosi. Or how many was it? 3? I don't even know.
There was 5. 3 voted against her, and then there were 2 I believe who abstained. Who chose not to get involved.
So again, and then people had to lie about it. And as Dylan Radigan said on my show, the reason why so many people are coming out against me and making it about me is because the idea is a really good idea. And so it was a really good idea that everyone knows they should have did it, and they didn't fight. And so The Justice Democrats, people should stop sending them money immediately. There has to be a consequence for them not fighting and rolling over and getting nothing and not even addressing us. Hey, you can ignore me, but how do they ignore Brianna Joy Gray? How do they ignore Kyle Kalinske? How do they ignore Crystal Ball? How do they ignore Cornel West, Medea Benjamin, Marion Williamson, Susan Sarandon? How do they fucking ignore all these people? Justin Jackson, Ryan Knight. How do they ignore all the 100,000 fucking progressives at a town hall? They just ignored it. So that is a fireable offense. And so I think we should fire them and we should stop supporting them with money. The first thing we should do. And we need to try to scare the hell out of them or get rid of them. And my idea is obviously voting for progressives inside the Democratic Party is a failed experiment. The Justice Democrats are a failed experiment.